Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Culture as Capital, Driving Growth in Community. I'm pleased to introduce our panel today, Charles Burke, President and CEO of the Frederick Meyer Garden and Sculpture Park, Patricia Meridian, President and CEO of the Henry Ford, and Robin Terry, Chair of the Board and CEO of Motown Museum. Thank you for being here. Thank you for surviving this week with me. I'm Megan Spinitz. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Chamber, and I'm personally happy that we're kind of in the home stretch. This session was the brainchild of Bob Riney, and what he thought going into the planning is that Michigan is home to a number of iconic cultural institutions. 3 of them are up here today, and he wanted to take some time and celebrate these assets and turn the rest of the room into chief marketing officers for them. And so we aim to talk about some of that today, as well as economic impact. Michigan ranks 15th nationally in arts and culture economic activity. So we've talked a lot this week about where we rank low, and I think that we should all take some pride in the fact that we rank that high. According to USA Today's National Top 10 Best Reader's Choice Awards, Frederick Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park ranks number 2 as the best sculpture park in the U.S. and number 5 for best botanical garden. The Motown Museum ranks number 6 as best music museum. And the Henry Ford Museum is the 7th best history museum, and Greenfield Village is the 10th best open-air museum. So all in the top 10. Each of these institutions offers a space for common ground, a gathering place where all types of people can escape into an immersive experience, offering education and inspiration. Why don't we start by describing how your organization offers common ground and what it means to the visitors that walk through your doors. Charles?
Well, thanks for the invitation and the conversation. Frederick Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park is really a unique space, and we pride ourselves that we're not quite a museum, we're not quite a botanic garden, we're not quite an amphitheater, but we're all 3 things. And where the secret sauce really is in that intersectional space, so that there is room for everyone. There's a doorway for everyone to find their space there. And you know, the opportunity in front of us is not just on a 158-acre campus to service the West Michigan community, but we're really seeing a lot of people traveling in from Detroit, in from South Bend, in from Chicago, and spending a lot more time in Grand Rapids. So, you know, we're very excited about the diversified offerings that we have and just the absolute growth that we're seeing, and attendance going through the roof. And I would just say, and I know that my colleagues up here, you know, we live in this world and where you have to matter so deeply to your immediate community, but we all, with those rankings, we're living in a universal world where we're the 85th most visited museum on the planet. And so I think those are things that leaders really need to lean into and say, hey, this is a reason why you should live and raise your family in Michigan, are these great cultural gems.
Patricia, what do you think about common ground?
So our institution, our mission is to use the great American stories of ingenuity, innovation, and resourcefulness in order to help inspire a better future. And when you look at the breadth and depth of our collections and the number of venues that we have on our 250-acre National Historic Landmark campus, there is something for everyone. And we are a museum of the people, and we work very, very hard to break down any barrier for anyone to be able to not visit. We want everyone to visit. So we have a lot of outreach programs, community programs, where we offer free opportunities for people to come to the museum. And I think especially when the world is the way it is right now, there's some inspiration to be had and some lessons to learn from our historic past. And that's what we all need to do in order to move forward, I think, with new ideas. So we like everyone to come.
Robin?
So Motown Museum is we have the benefit of being about music, and music is an emotional experience. It's a natural connector of people. And so being the birthplace of Motown and the Motown sound, and the place where, artists that we connect to like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye and the Temptations and Four Tops, a place where they started, people sort of come to that place for many different reasons. And our job is really to connect them to an authentic experience that moves them. Well, the magical part of it, and the part that I probably enjoy the most, just being there, is watching people from very different places, people who look differently, have different values, different political beliefs, but find themselves in that space. And when they do, what it says is, even though we may look different and even think differently, there's something we have in common. And that music and that moment of finding that there's something in common is really, that's the power. That, to Patricia's point, that's the inspiration.
So when we talked before the conference, we talked a little bit about innovation and what it does it mean to be in a museum today, and how often are you thinking of space transformation in each of your entities. Patricia, do you want to go first?
Sure. We often talk in our business about what it means to be a museum today and to change the paradigm for what it means to be a museum today. I mean, most people look at museums in a very traditional manner. And what we're trying to do is, yes, we have the traditional manner. You visit a museum, you look at an artifact, you read a story, you participate in something. But we have a lot of outreach programs, and using the idea of innovation and saying, how can we innovate as a museum and attract more people, but not just to the campus? How can we go outside of our four walls and reach people across the country and across the world? We attract people from over 50 countries and every state. But there's a lot of people who can't come to Detroit or can't come to Michigan. So how can we reach them? And the internet has given us a lot of opportunity, but we also have many different programs like Invention Convention Worldwide, where we have over 300,000 students participating in a national competition to invent and to innovate. So those are the kinds of outreach programs, I think, that really help us shift who we are. And it also is good for the economy, and it's good for Michigan and for Detroit.
Rapid?
So we're in a space where we are reimagining what the Motown experience is for Detroiters, for visitors and tourists who come to Detroit. And so we are building a campus that celebrates a $75 million development that celebrates this legacy of Motown. So we had to grapple with that question, right? Because the museum of yesteryear, where you walked and you looked at pictures on the wall and, somebody might interpret it, those days are gone. And so we had to really think about, how do we entertain and educate at the same time? Your intention may not be to come here to learn something new. It may just be music. I want to come sing, dance, have fun. But our job, if we're successful, is to make sure you go away knowing something you didn't know. And that life is better because you were there. So just thinking about how we innovate, how we engage the next generation, we created an entity called Hitsville Next, which is really our bridge to the next generation. Our biggest threat, quite frankly, as a museum, is this generational gap, when folks no longer know who the Temptations are and the Supremes are. And so we have to really understand, is it about them, or is it about the music? Is it about the artists? Is it about what they inspired and what they represented? And that's where we land. So we use that inspiration to activate future generations.
How about innovation?
Yeah, we're really focused at Meyer Gardens on this concept of being an experience engine, where everybody can have a curated experience, very deep, but a lot of open doorways. And it ranges from, in April and May, We have our annual butterfly exhibition where you walk through and butterflies will land on you. And we'll see 250,000 people come just for that.
That's cool.
And at the same time, to your point, Robin, then they do something else. They'll happen to
Yeah.
walk by a Rodin and then learn something through a didactic there. We just introduced a new work by Tom Otterness called Big Girl Playground in a children's garden right outside our main portal. And that was to break down the barrier. In the traditional means, you go into a museum and there's no way you're allowed to touch the artwork. Now we have a piece of artwork that we encourage you to get on and slide. I actually have a little old brass sign from a Marshall Fredericks piece, and we did research on this, and he was okay with it. It said, "Do not touch the sculpture." Well, I took that off, and I have that as kind of a real, trophy there of breaking down that paradigm. Or even having a concert in an amphitheater that actually is art all the way around and you're in a garden experience. So it's all about this experience moment and through every season, but also to Patricia's point, making sure there's no barriers. We are committed to being welcoming to all people from all places. And that means having programming from educational programming, museums for all, having real price sensitivity, not just in the entrance point, but what do you charge for in your cafe and all of those things. So everybody can have just a rich, self-fulfilling experience.
Yeah.
And so, Robin, you talked a little bit about Hitsville Next. For each of the organizations, education is a big part of your mission. Describe the focus and what it means to play a role in exposing students to history and art, but then also how hard is it to appeal to that younger generation?
Yeah, so Hitsville Next grew out of, the mayor talked a little bit about this, and it's about retaining talent in our community. And so one of the things that was happening with artists and producers and those in the music making space is that they're coming from Detroit, which has one of the richest, if not the richest, I'm going to say the richest, music heritage of any major city in this country. And instead of staying here, they were choosing to go to Los Angeles, choosing to go to Atlanta, choosing to go to New York in order to further their careers. And so we really studied that and said, why can't we be that resource that is really rooted in artist development, that recreates that sense of community that was Motown, right? Motown was all about collaboration. So it was producers and musicians and artists all working together, supporting each other. And, so we said, why can't we recreate that? We have the best model in front of us. And so we created this Hitsville Next space for that very reason. So to help build community for music makers, and then to re-engage with artist development, which now means I don't have to go someplace else for that. And how difficult is that? Once they know the community is there, it's not difficult. It's something they've been, hungry for.
Patricia, do you want to talk a little bit about education and how it is part of the mission?
Yeah, well, education is our mission. I mean, we are an educational institution. Probably a lot of people don't realize this, but when we were founded in 1929 by Henry Ford, it was founded as a school, not a museum. And he had a K through 12 school, and he believed in hands-on learning, which is something we believe in still, so immersive experiences. Eventually, after about the first 5 years, it transformed into, it stayed a school, but the students became the tour guides around the campus. But he was preserving buildings, and his big thing was let the kids in, let them take things apart, put your hands on things, do as much as you can to learn. And it was all about how is progress made in America? How have people innovated and made progress? So he would display everything from the beginning of, a spinning wheel all the way up to an electric sewing machine, or bikes and carriages up to automobiles. Of course, we've morphed into what we are today, but that same philosophy of education remains. The original school closed in 1968. We opened Henry Ford Academy in 1997. So almost 30 years now, we've had 500 and some students on our campus, 9th through 12th grade. They're completely integrated into our campus. So education is what we do. Yeah. We also have about 200,000 school kids that come visit us every year. And we work with teachers all over the region, all over the state on curriculum, the whole education department. And we help those teachers navigate the museum and match the curriculum to the standards they have to teach to. And in addition, we have teacher awards that we work nationally with innovative teachers all over the country. So we're doing a lot with teachers and students and helping develop teachers. So a whole department dedicated to that is part of what we do. And that philosophy of hands-on learning still remains very active with us.
Charles?
Well, first I can attest as when I was living in Detroit, my children both went to your camps, and they were the best camps ever.
We have camps.
It was great. But at the Gardens, we of course have education departments, curriculum development, and we have field trips, and we have gobs and gobs of kids that come, and it's always the heartbeats really up during those periods of time. But we're also leaning very heavily into the sense of community through an educational experience. And we're really targeting in many ways adult learners. We're all learning. And, if you go on a cruise ship and you want to take a trip somewhere and you learn while you're there. And we're trying to get people to stay in Grand Rapids, decide to stay here. Don't go to Florida. Don't go to Sedona or any other place. We can be that resource for lifelong learning throughout that work. And we have close to 800 volunteers that there is a sense of shared community of being a docent, being a guide in our children's garden. But that sense of community, educating them, that's been a very powerful transformation tool to see a sense of loneliness being combated later in life. So, yes, we work with children, but we're never done educating even through, later in life.
So how important are volunteers to your talent strategy?
We've been over-reliant upon them, actually. And the nature of volunteerism is fundamentally shifting. And we're trying to get them out of critical roles, but we talk about we are a place of joy, we're welcome to all people, and we're world-class. And we've charged our volunteers of being the holders, the ambassadors of joy in everything that we do. And they can add that extra sauce when you come into the facility. But they are very helpful. I mean, if you come to a concert, you're going to have your credentials checked by a volunteer. We couldn't do it alone. And they're really the heartbeat of the institution in many ways.
And I believe Greenfield Village relies on volunteers.
We have about I know we have well over 500, and it equates to about 40 full-time people. When we have a staff of 1,800, and so it's very helpful to have those extra people. But what's interesting to me is a lot of our volunteers work behind the scenes. We get a lot of retired engineers from Ford and General Motors, and they come and they work on Model Ts, they work on the train. They do a lot of things that we don't have those skills everywhere. So to get those extra hands and the brain to make those things happen, it means a lot to us.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that. So you can help me understand how you built that. Because we need to rely more on volunteers. Today we have wonderful corporate partnerships, and so those partnerships afford us volunteers. So we partner with Bank of America, we partner with Ford, and they help supplement volunteers for us. But we really are interested in building sort of an internal core.
Well, and what you said, Charles, about advocates, they become a huge advocates for us. And so we try and treat them really well with, all kinds of things that we do to make them feel very comfortable, and they are part of our team.
So our research team pulled some stats for me that the broader arts and culture sector of Michigan supports 144,000 jobs. And so how does, what is your workforce dynamic? Is it easy to attract talent? What kind of talent are you high on, low on? What does it look like today?
Yeah, so from economies of scale, we are about 450 employees. From our economic impact study, we affect 1,167 jobs, about $140 million worth of economic impact annually in Grand Rapids. Labor is going to be a continued problem. We don't have population density like there is in southeastern Michigan. So we're working very carefully with partners, other institutions. We have a huge food and beverage department and our horticultural staff. I mean, 158 acres, and you can imagine just the daily care of that. So attracting and retaining world-class talent. And what we're concerned about long term is just wage increase beyond what we're willing to pay. And so that means our earned revenue needs to be balanced out with philanthropy over time to really attract to that talent. But we do find that, especially with some of the exciting things, and we're seeing some of the pictures of having a Chihuly exhibit or working with artists, people do want to apply and be part of this. It's maintaining them over time.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a long-term challenge, I think, for all of us, frankly.
Now, between the Henry Ford and Greenfield Village, I mean, I would think the spectrum of the type of team and talent. One of my former colleagues, Maureen Cross's sister, was part of the costume department, and it was so much fun to go there one day and kind of see what her job was. Yeah. Talk to us about your team.
It's a very, very diverse team of people from the earliest age you can start working, 16, 17, all the way up until, we have some people in their early 90s. And so we're a very welcoming place for all ages and race, everything. And we also, I always say, whatever your major is in college, you can find a job at the Henry Ford because there is something to do in every area, whether it's finance, food service. You can be an executive chef and help run 6 restaurants. You can be a costume designer and work in our period clothing department where they make over 1,000 outfits a year for all of our period presenters. So there you can be in the trade. So we have painters, electricians, HVAC people, the whole bit, because, and horticulture, huge, 250 acres we have to take care of. So there is something for everybody. And that's part of what I love about my work is we have such a great staff. Right before COVID, we redid our entire HR department, and it's now called Talent and Culture. And we take the culture piece really, really seriously because we want everybody to feel like it's an inclusive environment, it's welcoming, and that they feel like they have family. And I always tell our team, families first, regardless of what your job is, our family is first. And we really try and respect that. People have real life issues that happen, and we want to be supportive of that. And so we try and develop that kind of a culture and community at our place.
Robin, tell us about your team.
So I truly work with one of the best teams on this planet. And I mean that. We've been in the trenches together. We're building dreams together. I think the unique thing about where we are in this space and time is that for Motown Museum, our entire business model is shifting. And so that means we're going from what was like a little historic home into this campus. Now it has like 3 locations, and it's a more sophisticated business model. And so a lot of I think as a leader in the space, what I grapple with is as we grow our teams, how we still hold on to that passion that we all have and that sense of culture that binds us as a team and makes us unstoppable. Like that thing you don't want to lose as you grow and the business grows and has all of these other parts. And so oftentimes it's looking for talent who are also passionate about it, understand it and get it, so that you don't lose those dynamics. Yeah. And that's challenging. I think what's also challenging in really transitioning to a different type of business and much larger operation is just it's compensation. You said it, right? It's how we are retaining the talent we have and attracting the talent we need in order to be successful in this new and competitive with this new business model. So those things are real, and we're grappling with them every day.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because people are shopping right now.
Yeah.
And especially young people, they're very savvy. GuideStar is not a thing anymore. It's like AI has broken down the barriers. So being competitive in market wages, whole comp theory of quality of life going into that. And the quality of life of truly, you say your family first, but what is the culture? And culture eats everything. It really does. And it's really competitive out there to get and retain talent.
It is.
And you might have to overspend, but it works in the long run. It really does.
Yeah. I think you're facing the same, I mean, your organizations are businesses, and every employer that's here this week, I think, is facing these same challenges. Robin, when your campus fully opens, how big is your team right now, and how much will it grow when you're kind of through
So
this?
our team is more than doubling. So when we started this journey, there were about 30 people on our full team. We will be just under 100 people by the time we open this time next year. So it's a drastic shift from where we began.
So Michigan's broader arts and culture sector contributes $20.5 billion in annual economic activity, which is about 3% of Michigan's GDP. There's a lot of legislators here this week. Talk to us about why that matters. Who wants to go first? It's kind of a rhetorical.
Go ahead. Yeah. It matters.
Yeah.
It matters.
A lot. Yeah.
It matters. We have 1.7 million guests a year that visit us, and we are the impact of those visitors is about $300 million of economic impact to the community, which does matter. It matters a lot, and the livelihoods of the people that we employ matters. I just spoke with the mayor of Dearborn today. We have a pretty good relationship, and how do we support our community, our immediate community? How do we support and work together to help be outward looking and problem solvers for the greater community? We're always working on that kind of thing. How can we cross promote each other? We're colleagues with all of the arts and cultural community, and we talk a lot and we get together a lot. I see Maha there and Access. We've worked with Access for 24 years. So it's really important to the business. And I always talk about the balance of culture, commerce, and community. Yeah. The culture is our mission. The commerce is our business. If we don't have a solid business, we can't promote our culture. But the community is why we do it. So being outward looking into our community, I think, helps with that economic impact. But it also helps bring the richness to life in our region.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I worked 25 years in southeastern Michigan, and now I'm a proud Grand Rapidian. And Mark Washington is here, who has done amazing things in Grand Rapids, and we're growing in Grand Rapids right now. And we're seeing so many people coming in from Chicago and on their way up to Traverse City. And with Acrisure Amphitheater, a new soccer stadium, the riverfront. These entities, they provide heart and soul and reasons for people to come and spend another night. Our goal right now is to go from a 3 to 4 hour visit to a multi-day experience. That we have about 1 million visitors, but what is 1.5 million, and how would that work, and what would that do to Grand Rapids to continually drive that economic impact? I can tell you, just up the street from us at Knapp's Corner, the restaurants love us because because we provide real jobs, real impact. The gas stations, they're getting filled up because of us and coming out. So I think this is an easy win for pure Michigan. And tourism. People want to come to the state of Michigan, and we have a lot more wins than losses on this. And I think people need to pay attention to the art sector. It's an easy thing to say a yes and be bipartisan on.
I would add to that just the power of transformation when you do all of those things. And I think that the space that we're in, which is part of Northwest Goldberg, which at one time was it was actually it had the greatest amount of sort of gang violence in Northwest Goldberg. So it was a poverty-stricken segment of Detroit that now has all of this investment. So with our project and Henry Ford's and Pistons, you have over $3 billion being pumped into this part of the neighborhood, and it's transforming that part of the neighborhood. So you have businesses, bed and breakfast, small businesses and large businesses that are now coming up in this neighborhood, creating a better life for the folks that live in those communities, and now transforming that Northwest Goldberg area. There's still a lot of work to do.
And attracting
inside
more
the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But attracting services, the hotel nights. I mean, that's our goal for our visitors who come from all over the world. And many of them, their reason for coming to Michigan, to Detroit, is to make the pilgrimage to Hitsville.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So those people stay another hotel night. They get an Uber ride. They eat in our restaurants. And so the goal is just to, continue to build that momentum.
Well, and I want to add to that too, because the other big thing that's happening, because we have the great new riverfront and the Great Lakes, so the Great Lakes tour ships, cruise ships are coming in, and they get to select when they dock in Detroit. They get to select different excursions that they want to take. Or Muskegon.
Okay,
No, that's right. It's the Great Lakes. It goes up that way too. But they are now, we are getting, I mean, our group tour business has grown substantially since the end of COVID to now, because those tour groups are coming in. And that's really, really good for our whole community. And the work that the Riverfront did, that GM put into it, Ford is putting into renovate, it's just all so important to add that richness to what we have.
And if you imagine what I just described with, you have Motown expanding, you have the Henry Ford city in a city being built, you have the Pistons and their performance spaces. If you back out of that Motown Museum and you just have the hospital campus and you have a sports facility, that's a really different vision. That's when you think about what the cultural asset adds to that intersection of all of those things, that's game changing. That's game changing. So we just have to think about the real role and the value that all of these institutions, and those that aren't represented here with us, we're sort of speaking for all of us, that we bring to our communities and that we bring to business and that we bring to the bottom line.
Charles, you mentioned Pure Michigan, and tonight we're hosting a reception after the governor finishes in the theater to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Pure Michigan. We believe Pure Michigan is another example of common ground. We all feel something when we see those ads and see the iconic photography. So 20 years ago, it was launched at the conference. What do you need from government leaders to grow your economic impact number?
I think we need to be unapologetically telling our story in other states. I think people, you can ski, you can go to the beach, you can go to an iconic institution. There's not a lot of places. I grew up in Washington, D.C. on the East Coast, and we chose to move to Michigan because of University of Michigan and stayed because of the quality of the state of Michigan. And I think we need to be competitive. It really ticks me off sometimes when I see Chicago advertising or Illinois about, in the center of it all. We're awesome as a state. Really, there's so much stuff to do, and to go up north, it's hard to describe what this is like. So I think we just need to be unapologetically proud and tell the story loudly. And people will come because they're hungry. They're truly, truly hungry for things right now. And I think, if you look at, there was an article recently about the national parks. They're going through the roof right now because people are not traveling abroad. This is a moment to double down and to get tourism up. The cruise ships are a real thing. We've seen like a 40% increase, and it's at a really good time. So it evens out our weekend traffic. It provides a level of stability. But we just have to tell people and how awesome Michigan is.
Patricia, I think you mentioned that you were on the Travel Commission when Pure Michigan was launched.
I was. Yeah.
What's the next iteration of Pure Michigan in your mind?
First, I just have to say I'm absolutely delighted that Pure Michigan has had the kind of life it's had for 20 years, and I hope that it continues because it's a brand that really represents what we are. And I think all three of our organizations and all the cultural organizations that we're talking about, they are Pure Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nowhere else you can get some of these experiences, one of a kind. And so I hope that Pure Michigan continues. I hope that every administration moving forward sees the value in Pure Michigan, but I also think that it can grow and evolve. And so how the leadership and the Travel Commission continues to evolve that brand is something that we all should be vested in and we should all be paying attention to because it's really important for a state to brand for tourism.
Robin, anything else to add?
I couldn't agree more with both statements. We got to sing our own song. Yeah. We've got to sing our own song. When you go to spaces like Nashville, and I love Nashville, they know who they are, and they make sure that the moment you touch down in that airport, you know who they are, and that's what we've got to do a better job of, celebrating those unique experiences that you can only get in the great state of Michigan. And so that's all I would say. It's leaning into who we don't have to reinvent. We are known around this globe, not only for cars and stars, but for some really great things. And this is our moment to all just lean into that. It's not a big mystery. We just have to lean into it, celebrate it, own it, and sing our own song.
So, Robin, what is your 2026 summer commercial for someone that hasn't visited Motown in a year or two?
My 2026 or 2027?
Oh, 2027, sorry.
My 2027 commercial it's all, I have partners up here.
That's okay, go ahead.
Our 2027 commercial is about experiencing, Motown in its purest, most authentic way and celebrating one of the most valuable gems to come out of Detroit. That is it. It's the treasures. It's celebrating the treasures, understanding this is a gem and it is an experience you cannot get anywhere else in the world.
What part of this reimagining Motown Hitsville are you most excited about?
I'm just excited. I'm excited about the storytelling. I'm excited about the new way that we're sharing this Motown story in the space and time where we are in America today. I think that there is a lot of inspiration that will come from this new way of hearing the story. I think there's wisdom that will come from it and how you navigate moments like the ones that we're living in. And I think as Americans, we are going to, I think the humanity factor is just going to be very different, the way we see ourselves, not only as Black people or white people, but as human beings. So I'm most excited about that, and then being able to share stories for the first time of many of Motown's sung and unsung heroes. There were many, many people, and we will have the largest repository of any Motown interviews available to public than anywhere in the world. And so allowing people to hear directly from those folks, not just through a docent, which we still do some of that. I'm excited to see how the public responds.
Patricia, you had some time on the stage yesterday to talk about what's going on at the Henry Ford this summer. And while there's 1,600 people at the conference, the theater only holds 700, so the chances that someone in this room didn't hear that. Why don't you rewind the tape a little bit and talk to us about the Jackson House?
So the Jackson House, if my summer commercial is to please come see the Jackson House. The Jackson House, we moved from Selma, Alabama to Greenfield Village at the request of its owner, Joanna Jackson, who was a small little child in 1965 when Martin Luther King used her family's home as a safe haven as he planned the Selma to Montgomery March. She called us in 2022 and said, I I want you to move my family's home to Greenfield Village. Took my breath away. But after about 14 months of research and discussion and intense discussion with our board, with community leaders all over the country, with African American leaders all over the country, we determined that the best thing for this house was to move it and to perpetuate the story. The slide is rolling through when you see the pink house. That opens June 12th after 4 years of discussion and rebuilding. We moved it into Greenfield Village, and people will be able to go through the home, and we're super excited about it. And we actually, this summer now, this year, is the 250th anniversary of our great country, and we chose to open it now as part of that celebration because that story is key to who we are as a nation, and now more than ever, it's really important for people to understand what took place in that home and how change happens, how ordinary people can make a difference in the world. And so we hope everybody comes to see that, as well as all the other things we're doing for the 250th. So go to our website.
Charles, your summer commercial?
Yeah, so my summer commercial, we have a really wonderful relationship with the glass artist Dale Chihuly. It's been up there. And so it opened in the United States at Meyer Gardens May 1st through November 1st. And the only other place you can see it is at the Venice Biennale. And he has 3 works there. And we're developing a very deep relationship with Dale and his team as he's thinking about his legacy. But what's really remarkable about that is he took an art form and he transformed it. It's universal. And there's courage in his creativity. And it's accessible. We were in Venice looking at it, and all walks of life, people found the joy in that. And I think that really represents what's possible in cultural institutions today, is to unlock that joy and that discovery. And we're really proud that, well, there's a piece of his right there. And it screams joy and courage and creativity on all forms. And that's what I would just encourage everybody here, is to be an ambassador of your cultural institution in your region. There's so much courage and courageous conversations that are going on, from building a campus to moving a home. This is where the heart and soul of communities live. And again, pull it out, you have a pretty dry community if you don't have this living, breathing joy in this. So great cities have great culture, and that needs to be the message that everybody takes away.
So we have only a few minutes left, and as I mentioned at the beginning, each of your institutions are very iconic. But there's also a lot of other institutions across the state of Michigan. And so if you were giving a guest some advice about what else to do in Michigan, why don't you each quickly go through your top 1 to 3 of peer organizations that you would recommend?
Yeah, I have a bias. I used to be a conductor with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, so go see the DSO. They're one of my favorite. Go to the DIA. Go visit our friends up here, but also go see the parks. I mean, we have an amazing park system, and explain to someone what Sleeping Bear Dunes really feels like when you're there. I mean, it's really kind of an amazing thing. But there's so much great stuff going on, and everybody on this campus right now needs to be yelling it from the rooftops.
Patricia?
So I would say go to the Arab American National Museum. You will learn so much, and it's so inspiring. Go to the train station. If you haven't been to the train station, it's awesome. Everything you said, absolutely.
We'll just keep adding.
And if you haven't been to the Detroit Public Theater before, it's an amazing experience. It's only 10 years old, and they do great shows, 4 great shows every year. I would also say the opera. The opera's amazing, and it's not only opera, by the way. You can see some great dance and great music there, but all of those things are inspiring to me, and I try and do all of them because it's what makes my life rich.
Rabbit?
I love it. I would just add to everything that was said. I'd certainly recommend the Wright Museum, the Charles H. Wright Museum.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's also something interesting down West Grand Boulevard, because there's a music story that exists there between the original hip hop museum And the, why did it just go out of my head? Our music, and we do movement. It is techno, thank you.
No.
So techno represented there, hip hop is represented there, and Motown is represented, but in really small museums. And so I think it's worth it if you are, there's even a gospel museum that's sort of starting to come up, but to really just get with some folks that are doing that, just to learn the history of it, because there's a nice little trip that you can take just down the boulevard and pick up a lot of music culture.
I would just say the last thing, as a person who used to live on the east side, now lives on the west side. If you're on the east side, go to the west side. If you're on the west side, go to the east side.
That's a great idea.
There's amazing things happening both places and in between and up north. But I think making that commitment to be intentional about expanding the coasts of Michigan here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This was a great discussion. Thank you for joining me today. And I hope everybody's leaving as a CMO for our great cultural institutions.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you,
were
Megan.
great.
Thank you.